Thank you for coming to Jamyang, Geshe La. Hello everyone. My name is Fabienne. I'm the director here at Jamyang. Thank you all for coming tonight. I just wanted to introduce Geshe Lhakdor. Geshe Lhakdor, we're thrilled that he's here tonight. This is his second day of a week-long visit in the UK. And he very kindly has agreed to have a real action-packed week-long. I think he has several events a day, and he agreed to come here, and we're really thrilled. Geshe Lhakdor is the current director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. It's a huge project, a wonderful endeavor, and we've got the newsletter of the archive here and the catalog of the books, and I'll put this outside so people can connect. But Geshe has been director of the archive for 16 years, and it's a thriving school for those of you who have already been to Dharamsala. I'm sure you visited. Who organized a tremendous amount of classes, both Dharma and language, and published many books, and I'm sure all of our bookcases probably have quite a few publications that I've printed from there, so thanks to the kindness of Geshe La. And has been translating for His Holiness intensely before that for decades. And was also involved in the Science for Monks program, and is on the trustees of one of the many projects of His Holiness, the Foundation for Universal Responsibility. So obviously, because these 2 weeks in London, there is so much going on related to the climate crisis and Extinction Rebellion activism. We asked Geshe La to talk about universal responsibility and the climate crisis, and so very kindly he has agreed to do that. And so thank you, Geshe La.
Correct. It's okay?
Yeah,
It's working?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Surprising. Okay. Good evening. Let me tell you at the outset that I am not an expert on environment or ecology or universal responsibility, whatever. But I do talk about these things a little bit here and there. And normally, at the request of people, I try to say a little bit. So first of all, I must say that this is probably my second or third visit to Jamyang Center also. When Geshe Tashi was here in the very initial stage, I was here, and we had momo together, Tibetan momo. So now he's abbot of Serame Monastery. I met him a few times, and I'm meeting him in December also. So, as I said, I'm very happy to meet all of you. When we talk about universal responsibility or eco-crisis, as I said, I'm not an expert. So, for the details of the threat of ecological or eco-crisis or lack of sense of responsibility, experts may have many data to show and scientific findings to show, so you better study those. But as a Buddhist myself, and based on my meeting with many people and talking to them in different places, what I find is that sometimes we make a very simple issue a very complicated one. And many a times we do a lot of talking but not doing much. So these days I've started saying that in Buddhism we say ignorance is the root cause of suffering. And I say, yes, I agree with that. But it's not just ignorance, but inaction, which is the root cause of suffering. Just today, interestingly, I read this piece on the calling climate change protesters. Hypocrites will not save the planet, this part. And then there is a line which says, the writer of this piece says, I can't count the number of commuters, drivers and friends who have told me this week that they agree about the climate and feel that someone should do something, but haven't made a single change in their own habits. So it's not only in terms of solving the climate crisis, but in solving any human problem. We have this tendency to say we have to do this. This is the problem. But who's going to solve the problem? And that's why Martin Luther King, he said, I don't get sad when bad people do bad things, but I feel sad when good people don't do much. So I think I'm not pointing to anybody, I include myself. Sometimes we probably don't see the threat, and we are just talking about it. It's like Buddhist is talking about the three poisons: ignorance, hatred, and attachment. Three poisons. Now if it is a real poison, I put it in my cup and show you and say, okay, this is poison, I'm putting it in my cup. Please come and enjoy this. Nobody will take that, because you are convinced and you know very well that this is really poison, I've seen it, it's going to kill me. But with the three poisons that is taught in Buddhism, like anger, hatred, attachment, you say, yes, three poisons, yes. But we don't really think they are like poison. So for me, that is the problem. That's the problem. As I said, for solving any problem, the solution is within us, because we are the ones who created this problem. Whether it's water pollution, air pollution, environmental destruction, these are not done by tigers and snakes and lions, however ferocious they may be. These are created by so-called intelligent human beings. So I've of late started doubting about human intelligence. Then I said, okay, yes, intelligence, yes, there. But that intelligence is not used in the right way, it is used in the wrong way. For doing meaningless things, unhealthy things, we are quick, sharp, we are doers, we do it. And look at the army uniforms, they look smart with, medals and flowers and, guns are also nicely polished, you see. And the missiles, we have created guns and missiles so good that you can really shoot the enemy precisely on the left eye and blind that person. But in terms of removing simple things like removing garbage in the street, not so efficient. So there's a major problem. In Buddhism, we talk about the negative emotions. We are not able to develop a bigger picture, holistic picture, realistic picture. We just go for the appearances. And appearances are deceptive. We are cheated and deceived 100,000 times in a day. Whether you go for shopping or talk to somebody, whatever you do, we just go after, or your marriage, you go for appearances. And then after a while you say, divorce, because appearances are deceptive. We don't have enough time to find things by ourselves, analyze things, and find out about the long-term benefit, short-term benefit, things like that. Right? In Buddhism, there is a teaching which says, you don't have to kill people, they will die. But now look at our world leaders. They continue to stockpile arms, ammunitions, weapons to destroy. Now today, in today's world, so much arms have been stockpiled that it is said that the whole human population can be killed few times over. What ludicrous this is. Is there a need, even if you want to kill, is there a need to kill few times over? As if you'll get up and then kill and get up and kill. This shows ignorance, arrogance. Now, when we talk about eco-crisis or environmental crisis, we need to simply see the drawbacks of unchecked greed, unchecked materialism. Each and every country thinks about developing their GDP growth every year. If that growth is not there, they start thinking something is wrong. Now let us look from where this material development has to come from. Material development means physical development. They have to come from environment. Environment is material, physical. Anything that is material, physical, by definition, has limitation. How can you make unlimited progress from limited resources? And we are seeing the limit of it already. The dwindling natural resources, animal resources, mineral resources. Still we call ourselves intelligent human beings. We are unable to provide clean drinking water. There was a time when water means drinkable from anywhere. In Tibet, for example, I remember, I was born in Tibet. I used to just go by the side of the running brooks and just pick up small natural grown flowers and drink water from there. We never heard people like getting sick by drinking those waters available everywhere. Now today, the so-called developed countries, we don't have easily available drinking water. I have once asked this question in America. I was traveling with His Holiness and I was in a nice hotel. And then in the hotel I just asked the person there, can I drink from the tap that is there in that luxurious hotel? And that person was not so sure. He said, maybe, not so sure. Now we have to drink from bottled water. Bottled water. Unless we be very careful, very soon we'll be using bottled oxygen. So somewhere down in the line, we have to have this courage to say no. Because the problem is we cannot criticize somebody. The business people, normally we say, okay, they are the ones. But we are also accomplice to them. We are directly, indirectly buying from them, and we buy many that is totally unnecessary. We buy because everybody is buying. We are not able to take a stand. Right? Now even here I see everywhere bottled water. At least Jamyang Center didn't give me a bottled water. That's good. Sometimes it may be necessary because of the situation right now, but many a times you don't have to drink from bottled water. So we need to play our part. So therefore we need to know very clearly the limitation of the natural resources. A time will come. Let me read a little bit. This book published 22 years back. And I was reading this a little bit and I said, oh my God, still relevant, but nobody seems to be doing much. So this one, for example, says, alarming report. That's 22 years back. And if today, not worse, not better. Alarming reports about contaminated waterways, polluted air, and depletion of natural resources reach us with increasing frequency. So that has been like that for so many years, maybe even before that. Today, it is becoming customary to talk in terms of crisis and eco-crisis in matters concerning society and its relation to the natural environment. This development, which a number of specific instances dramatically illustrate, signifies a growing concern for the survival prospects of coming generations. In the World Conservation Strategy drawn up by the United Nations and other world organizations, the following can be read. Thousands of millions of tons of soil are lost every year as a result of deforestation and poor land management. At least 3,000 square kilometers of prime farmland disappear every year under buildings and roads in developed countries alone. Now buildings, the concrete buildings are coming everywhere. I travel to many, many countries. Everywhere you see the concretes coming up, which means clearing the trees, the green plants and things like that. In widening swaths around their villages, the rural poor strip the land of trees and shrubs for fuel, so that now many communities do not have enough wood to cook food or keep warm. This book talks about three aspects of the eco-crisis. The eco-crisis manifests itself in a variety of ways, and here I would particularly like to point out three important aspects. The first is the technological eco-crisis, which arises due to modern production methods applied within agriculture, communication, housing, etc., methods which are responsible for a rapidly expanding process of contamination and depletion of natural resources. Second, the political eco-crisis, which involves the ways in which economy, laws, commerce, and dependent factors encourage a short-sighted exploitation of nature both locally and globally. Third, the value-related eco-crisis, which involves basic values concerning man's relation to nature today. Values which through their growing influences present a threat to the long-term survival prospects of the human crisis. Right? So therefore what I was saying was, whether you talk about universal responsibility or eco-crisis, we need to have some basic idea. In Buddhism, we talk so much about loving kindness, the need to have loving kindness, the need to have compassion, things like that. That is not there today. That is disappearing. People judge with each other how much I can get benefit from this person. You see? So we need to have that love and affection and compassion and think seriously, what are you going to leave for the next generation, or at least your children? What are you going to leave for them? Concrete buildings or much more than that? Right? As a follower of different kinds of religion, we talk about heaven, we talk about God, and many metaphysical related things, but we don't know how to live on this planet. We are ready to kill each other in the name of God, about which, honestly speaking, most of us have not much idea, whether it's God or Buddha, whatever. Right? But we don't have the love and compassion to the fellow sitting next to you. What is it that I can do for this person? What is it that I can bring more harmony and peace in this population of London? That sense of responsibility is not there, because you don't have love. And how can you develop love? How can you develop affection? It's very simple, actually, not very complicated. Like, for example, you love yourself, right? You take care about yourself. I'm not saying you are good in taking care of yourself, but at least be very careful. Here also we are not good, but at least we are trying to take care of ourselves. We give ourselves breakfast, give ourselves lunch, and then dinner, and then wash and clean and comb your hair. Every small details you are very careful. But with respect to others, how much time you are giving? With respect to the universal sense of responsibility. When you talk about a universal sense of responsibility, you need to at least know the meaning of this English word, individual. The English word individual comes from indivisibility, which is saying that you are part of the whole, indivisible part of the whole, the world. Right? It is just like the way we take care of ourselves is like taking care of your hand and forgetting the rest of the body. How about that? Just take care of your hand or leg, not the rest part of your body. It's really like that. Because you can flourish only if the rest of the world can flourish. You will be in peace in the true sense of the term only when the rest of the world is in peace and in harmony. So I strongly believe something is wrong with the whole education system. Today, when people talk about education, they are only talking about literacy, reading, writing, mathematics. And then after that, if you get some employment and job, then you think you are educated. No. Education is not equal to literacy. Education is human flourishment. Education is personality development. Human flourishment means that you are happy, that you are calm, that you are compassionate, that you have this sense of responsibility about others. The other day, when I was giving a talk to the Tibetan youths and also to the Tibetan community yesterday, I quoted one stanza from Nagarjuna, where Nagarjuna says, if you really want to get established in your life, you must strive to benefit others. He never said, if you want to establish yourself or if you want to settle, make money. He never said. He said, if you want to get established and settled in your life, make effort in helping others. And without settling yourself, without establishing yourself with that kind of process of helping others, he said, whatever you do, you will not achieve much success. Or in other words, you will not get happiness. Right? So today we are all, like I've asked this question to many, many places, do you all want happiness? Everybody says, yes sir, I want happiness. Then I ask a second question saying, for how many days you want happiness? Then many of them not say anything, but they smile. When I ask them why you are smiling, they say, Geshe La, I want happiness as long as possible. You see, that's the thing. And you, if you think about this carefully, that you not only want happiness, but you want long-lasting happiness. And if you want that long-lasting happiness, from where do you think that long-lasting happiness will come from? I ask this question again. Because then people are thinking, then they say, the long-lasting happiness has to come from within. So that is where we need to meditate. That's why meditation is important, reflection is important, contemplation is important. Ask questions and you will find answers. So people then say long-lasting happiness has to come from within. Now when we say long-lasting happiness has to come from within, what do you mean? You are saying it has to come from within means from your mind. What kind of mind? So we are basically saying the happiness, long-lasting happiness will come from within your mind so long as you develop a mental outlook, a mental perspective which is in harmony with the way things are in reality. Now look at the reality. In today's world, we are so closely connected. You cannot say, I live in this country, I don't care about what is happening in the other country, things like that. Especially in today's world, because technology, the speed of technology and science has thrown all of us into the face of each other. So that Buddhist teaching of interconnected reality is proved with the speed of technology today. And then also if you look at the nature is, the need to know the nature is important because nature is unbiased. When the sun shines, it will never say, I will shine only to the Tibetans or not to the Chinese or things like that. No. The sun will shine wherever there is a possibility to shine. But if you hide yourself in darkness, okay, there's no problem of sun. That's what we do all the time, you see. And then if there is, for example, a flood, it will never say, I will shake only the notorious people and not the good people. Or I will shake only the Americans and not the Chinese. It will shake everybody. That is the situation. If you do a major damage to the climate, to the environment, all of us will suffer. All of us will suffer. Right? So we cannot afford to delay the ways and means to solve the environmental and eco crisis. And the process of solution is that each of us has to make some commitment. We may not be able to do everything, but at least play our part wherever there is a possibility. As much as possible, refuse to drink from bottled water. As much as possible, ensure that you don't use plastics. As much as possible, you keep your surrounding clean, plant some trees. All of us can do that. All of us can do that. And in the true sense of the term, there is your religious practice. Whichever religion you follow. Many people have very unhealthy understanding of their own religion, at least from my perspective. Right? Religion is servant of human beings. Right? And the Buddha, for example, he said, if you love me, love my children. And he clearly said there is no religious practice which does not help others. So our main concern, duty, is to help everybody with love, with affection. You should gradually develop such a feeling that as soon as you see somebody, there's no need to have any introduction from which country you belong to, which religion you belong. These are superficial questions. We do ask, is a conventional thing, but actually you don't need introduction. You know that this lady I'm meeting for the first time, but I know she wants happiness, she does not want suffering. This gentleman, very famous, maybe president, prime minister, but I know he also wants happiness, does not want suffering. And I know this woman is also going to die very soon. I am also going to die very soon. The famous president is also going to die very soon. So with this realization, there is no room for enmity, conflict, killing. That's why I cited this quotation, you don't have to kill people, they will die. Right? So by the same token, we can say you don't have to create suffering upon other people, they already have suffering. And that solution is possible if you understand the reality. As I said, the reality, if you talk about environmental reality, it is not biased. It will affect all of us. If we do some great damage, it will affect all of us. All of us will suffer. So it's really like a question of sinking or swimming together. In ordinary terms, we are very good in making discriminations. I'm monk, he's layman, this is man, this is woman, this is American, this is Chinese, and we are fond of this highlighting and emphasizing on the differences. We don't know how to highlight the similarity, that she also wants happiness, he also wants happiness. My happiness is also dependent on this gentleman's smile. As simple as that, you see. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama has repeatedly said, if you know how to live happily and harmoniously and make more genuine friendship, then this earth itself will become like a heaven. This reminds me a Tibetan teacher who said, there is nobody who will catch hold of your hand and throw you into heaven. God cannot do that. Buddha cannot do that. Similarly, there's nobody who will catch hold of your leg and drag you or throw you into hell. Your worst enemy at the most can kill you physically, but that enemy has no power to throw you into hell. So your happiness and your suffering is in your hand. Therefore, do not cheat yourself. Of course, nobody intentionally says, I want to cheat myself, but because of short-sightedness, we end up doing things which is really cheating oneself. So therefore, to make a long story short, you need to do something that will bring happiness right now. Right now, that will bring happiness right now. When we talk about having happiness in life, life consists of minutes, hours, years. So your present moment is included in that so-called life. So if you are not happy today, part of your life is unhappy. Right? So it is important to be happy right now. And much of the problem that we see today in the world is a clear indication of starvation of human mind. Starvation of human mind. I did not say starvation of the body, I said starvation of human mind. For body, we give breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in between Kit Kat or whatever. So many things, right? But for the mind, what are we giving? And mind is the maker of our destiny. Mind is the one which makes choices, which makes decisions. As I said right in the beginning, we have this wonderful human intelligence, but that intelligence, remain untrained, neglected as it is, and in many cases, unfortunately, it goes in the wrong side. It lets the ignorance rule your ignorance, and then because of that, you develop anger, jealousy, hatred, and make yourself life unhappy and others' life unhappy and things like that, right? So therefore, it is really important to start from simple facts. I'm not trying to talk about complicated things which I don't know, and also I am not interested in talking about many complicated, incomprehensible things. But what I'm talking about is, what you can start doing is, in our own life, whoever you are, highly educated, not so educated, whoever you are, we're all intelligent human beings, right? There are many things we know that I should not be doing this, so stop doing that. There are many things you know that I should be doing this, start doing that. That's the way to change the world. So it's not really so much about not having knowledge, but as I said right in the beginning, it is in action, not doing. right? Just talking is useful, but not much. If you go to a restaurant and read the menu, wow, and read all the delicious list of the food, but if you don't buy any food, don't eat any food, will it solve your hunger? Right? So you have to eat. You have to eat. Right? To alleviate your hunger. So similarly, we need to do something. And when you do something, much of the problem that we have today is because, number one, your mind is engaged in negative things. And many a times we are distracted, we are not engaging in anything important. So once you start engaging and doing something important, you will be happy right from that time. Because the good news is that we are born wanting happiness, as I said earlier. We are born wanting long-lasting happiness. And that's good news. The fact that you are born wanting long-lasting happiness means you have the capacity to achieve that long-lasting happiness. You call it Buddhahood or whatever name you want to give it. But that shows you have the capacity to have it. But the problem is, we don't practice. Now this is now proved by the brain scientists. They talk about brain cells, that in terms of number of brain cells, the brain cells of a young kid and the number of the brain cells of a young kid and number of brain cells of a grown-up person, in terms of the number, there's not much difference. The difference is connection. And connection also, especially if you make the healthy connection through meditation and things like that, the more you make that healthy connection, the more you become a kind, compassionate person. It is scientifically proved. This is equal to the Buddhist teaching on meditation. Meditation means not sitting in a corner, closing your eye. Meditation means making your mind habituated with positive ways of life. Making your mind habituated with positive qualities. Why this is important? This is important because you are controlled by your mind, not by your body. That's not a big issue, that's okay. But the problem is the mind which is controlling you is predominantly short-sighted, stupid, ignorant. That's the problem. That's the problem. So therefore, through meditation we are saying that, okay, our mind, I am controlled predominantly by negative emotion, that's why I am suffering. Now I need to make my mind habituate with the positive emotions so that I can have happiness. So meditation is a process of selecting a healthy, good leader, a leader with wisdom, leader with compassion. So whether it is in terms of, shouldering the universal sense of responsibility, or in terms of removing environmental crisis or eco-crisis, you need to change. Don't worry about change of the world, which is good, but you are part. You start from yourself. You play your part. You play your part. Think globally, act locally. Even many of the Buddhist practitioners, we always pray, may all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. It looks very good, May all sentient beings means globally, like big talking. But what about your next door neighbor, the poor next door neighbor? How you deal with your next door neighbor, that is the issue. Just talking about infinite sentient beings is easy because you have not much idea where these infinite sentient beings are, honestly speaking. So therefore, I always say, think globally, act locally. Live happily with your environment. Create beautiful environment. Don't pollute them. Clean them. Live harmoniously with your fellow human beings. Make them happy, right? So with this kind of, you don't have to go into many details. If you're able to go, it's good. You can do a lot of intellectual exercise, do this research and talk about all the data and findings. As I said, there's an intellectual way of doing things which is maybe good, sometimes very compelling, to show the data and facts, things like that. But we can also simplify it. we can also simplify it. Just develop simple love, simple affection, and pray, not just pray, but also just as you are praying, may all serene beings happy, then say, may this lady be happy, may this nun be happy, things like that. And then in your day-to-day encounter, be nice, be kind, smile. You can make their life very happy. Very happy. You don't have to have a lot of money to make others happy. It's not that complicated. I'm not saying it's very easy, but also not impossible. It's only a question of training the mind. I have met a number of people who at the first glance looks like, oh, this man is very intruding, he really looks nasty, you know. That's our projection. But then on a second reflection, oh, this is how I feel, but he or she may not be like that. Then just try to smile, you know, and say hello. You know, this person melts down, he is very kind, very nice, you see. I have traveled over 30 countries, although my time in all these countries are like almost equal to none, because I'm always traveling, doing something, and then going back, you know. So most of the time it is between the conference room and the hotel. I don't have much experience, but I have some sense that people all over the world, majority of the people all over the world are nice people, good people. They are ready to share their food, share their tea, you know, see. Then what's the problem? The problem is the stupid leaders that we elect. Yes. And then once they get the power, they get hungry, you know, then they do all kinds of stuff because they have the power. If we don't have the power, then there's nothing much we can do. So we need to, when we talk about this universal or global sense of responsibility, the responsibility lies in electing a good leader, right? Which is good, most importantly, which is compassionate, like a leader who has this feeling for people in general, especially for the poorer community, poorer section of the people. For the rich people, all the leaders seem to be in league with the rich people. There was a time when the world is ruled by army generals. Now we are living in a time when the world is basically ruled by the big business people who funded the election. You see? So therefore, it is really important not to get discouraged. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama says that in your life, if you are able to make at least 10-20 people happy, you have made your journey on this planet successful. How beautiful this is. And if you are not able to do that, you may be very handsome, you may be very beautiful, you may have a lot of money. So what? We came into this world with nothing, naked, without even clothes on the body, knowing nobody. There is a joke where immediately after the birth of the child looks at the mother and says, have you met before? Right? So we knew nobody. Very helpless. Then what we did? The first thing we did was crying. Not laughing, not smiling. Laughing. No difference between American children, Chinese children, Tibetan children, you know, no difference. The first thing the child does is crying. And by crying, what the child is asking, what do you think the child is asking? I am 100% sure the child is not asking for a lengthy discourse on Buddhism. Or for that matter, any religion. The child is asking for somebody's love. Their love also unconditional love. Why am I emphasizing on this unconditional love? Because as we grow up, the unconditional love that we needed in the beginning becomes conditional love. I love you so long as you love me. That is what we do when we are grown up. And then the love becomes a business love. You see? So therefore what is taught, I believe in all the religions, and at least in Buddhism, repeatedly says, unconditional love, unconditional love. Just as you want everything, everybody wants the same thing. And not only that, the more you take care of others, the more you will be the beneficiary. So that's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, if you want to be selfish, be wisely selfish. Our usual way of being selfish is stupid way of being selfish, because we want everything just for myself, forget about others. Right? And this way of thinking just for oneself and making this self-references, I, me and mine, is now scientifically proved to be very dangerous for your health also. People who make a lot of self-references are more prone to all kind of illnesses, including heart attack. Scientifically proved. Taught in Buddhism so many centuries before, it's scientifically proved. In Buddhism, it is found right in the beginning of Chandrakirti's middle way. Right? So therefore, what I'm saying is, whether it's in terms of removing this ecological crisis or taking the sense of responsibility, you need to think about the rest of the human being. Because they are more. You may be important, but you are just one individual. The rest are countless. So their happiness is more important. Removal of their suffering is more important. It's like if somebody says, out of the 10 fingers, either you can save one, or you have to give up the rest of the 9. Then you will say, yes, in order to save the rest of the 9, I will sacrifice this. That's intelligent. But if you say, I want to just save the thumb, please cut the rest of the 9 fingers, stupid. Right? Stupid. So this is all very much dependent upon love. Love. And can we develop that love? Yes. Look at the mother. The mother may not be highly trained in Buddhism or any religion, but because that mother has so much love for her child, the mother is ready to sacrifice her life for the child, and she doesn't find any difficulty because she is mentally determined. So that shows the possibility that we can all develop that. Right? So therefore, the more you relax this tight grasping and craving to yourself, the more you think about others, the more you can relax in peace, the more you will be happy. So that's why in Buddhism we talk so much about the 3 poisons, out of which the most dangerous poison is called ignorance, which is grasping and seeing things as having independent existence, not related to everybody. And especially when this clinging and craving is developed upon yourself, yes, I am somebody. How dare you say this to me? And you develop this feeling that I'm somebody that is out there, never going to die. Huh? That's why Buddha had to repeatedly say, you are impermanent, you are impermanent, you are interdependent, you are suffering. He has to repeatedly say this. And Buddha is saying this because these are the facts of the life. They are the reality. Buddha did not invent anything. Buddha discovered the truth that is written in you, in me, in the tree, in the rocks. He was able to see that. And he is saying, you are not seeing that. Please see this. We are interconnected. Please see that we are impermanent. Now, impermanent also doesn't mean only death and decay. Impermanence means change. Impermanence means flexibility. That if things are permanent, there's nothing you can do. If things have independent, existence, there's nothing you can do. It's the way things are, but it's not. It is interdependent. It depends on many causes and conditions. So manipulate the causes and conditions. You can change. You can become better. Because things are changing, you can cultivate the right causes and conditions. You can change for the better. It's an amazing, wonderful teaching. So therefore, what I'm really saying is we need to understand how closely we are connected towards each other. How much your happiness is dependent upon others' happiness. So in many of my talks, at the conclusion of the talks, I always tell people, I'm going to give you a commitment, just like somebody has given you a tantric initiation. And that commitment is, whatever may come in my life, I will never make my mind unhappy. That's the commitment you need to take from me today. Whatever may come in my life, I will never make my mind unhappy, because feeling unhappy, feeling sad, never solve any problem. It will create more problem. The situation always may not be to your liking, but you can change your attitude. Right? It may be raining heavily outside. Because it's raining heavily outside, don't get upset. Bring that sunshine within yourself and you will be happy. So happiness is something that has to be cultivated from within yourself. By seeing the reality, you will be happy. And you will be happy because you are a human being right now. Somebody came to me and once asked me a question, Geshe-la, can you please teach me meditation? I said, are you sure you want to learn meditation? He said, yes, I want to learn meditation. Okay, then I'll give you that meditation. I have nothing to teach you, but go outside, spend this whole morning and think that you are a cow, not a human being. Then you will know what it means to be a human being. So don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. You're lucky. If you read the science, you will know how much time it took to stand erect. We were like any other animals, moving on the four limbs. But then we tried several times trying to see things. After years of effort, we are able to get erect and hands free. Now you can hold your mobile phone, whatever, sing and dance. Right? Right? So we should really be happy. We should really be happy. So happiness has to come from within your mind. We should be seekers of happiness, not seekers of pleasure. Right now we don't have happiness because we never sought happiness. We sought pleasure, sensual gratification. Now everybody is running, especially in big cities. Everybody is running. Everybody says, I'm busy. To meet anybody, you need to seek an appointment. Right? But I'm telling people, it is not important to be busy. What is important is, what are you busy about? You don't have to be busy because everybody else is busy. Right? Right? So it's important to appreciate, understand this special, unique human capacity, especially human intelligence, and use it in the right way. You can bring happiness in the mind of so many people, just like His Holiness Dalai Lama is doing, just like Nelson Mandela did. I had the pleasure of meeting Nelson Mandela, Vaclav Havel, and some of the great people I had the privilege to meet there, Mahatma Gandhi, and so forth. And then same human being, with same human intelligence, like Mao Zedong. During his rule, 75 million people lost their life because of having used his intelligence in the wrong way. So we have a long list there also. Even today there are people like that. Right? So which is really, really unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So therefore our task is to be happy with our human intelligence, human capacity, and use it in the right way, in the constructive way, whether it is in terms of solving, eco-crisis, or in terms of fulfilling human responsibility. Right? We should belong to that community which is finding the solution to problems, which is not just talking about problems. Right? And His Holiness the Dalai Lama once says, in terms of your spiritual practice, you should be like the people who participate in marathon race or in big Olympic games, How much practice they undergo to make their muscles or whatever, you see. Right? So therefore, pay more attention to your inner values. We are facing all this crisis because there is a value crisis today. Everything has a value. Your pound has value. Dollar has value. Everything has value. What about human value? The most important thing is human value, but that most important thing is now disappearing. Paying more attention to the value of the money, not human value. That is the problem. That's the problem. Right? So therefore, I would like to conclude by again citing a quotation from this same newspaper I read this morning, where it says that a society grows stronger when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. The importance of your life is proved by doing something which will outlive your life, which will not finish with your life. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm not saying I have all the answers, okay? Yeah.
You mentioned about human beings, but what about the animals?
Exactly. I mentioned about human beings. In the beginning I spoke about all sentient beings, right? But human beings play such a crucial role. That's why if human beings take care of their human values, then that means being compassionate. Compassionate to not only just human beings, but all sentient beings. That's important, right? Yeah. Because as I said, we are the ones who are polluting the water, who are polluting the air, who are in fact doing all these destructive, awful things are done by human beings, not by animals. Right? So therefore, with that understanding, we should show more respect to the animals also. And I remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama during one of his teachings saying that sometimes when you look at, say, an earthworm, he says he feels like prostrating to the earthworm. Because that earthworm maybe like looks very helpless, just wriggling and moving sluggishly, things like that. But what kind of harm he is doing to us? Even in his own limited capacity, he is producing that fertile soil, you see. Now we, human beings, bringing all this destruction, right? So since we brought all this problem, we should solve the problem. And His Holiness also said it's not fair to make prayers to God and Buddha to solve the problem, because these problems are not created by Buddha or God. They are created by us. So we have to find the solution. Right? Okay? Yeah. Yes.
How do we best encourage or gently persuade those that don't want to take action, especially on climate change, or those that don't really see it as a problem?
I think there can be many ways. One, as I said, start doing yourself, because there you don't need the assent of a powerful political leader or things like that. There are many things you can do that you should start doing. Your group or whoever, all of us, of course, wherever we are, we should start doing that. That will, sometimes, action speaks louder than words. Sometimes if you're not careful when you become very active, it's good, but sometimes it may be hurting the ego of somebody, you see. So we need to get the support and the assistance of the leader through kind and compassionate and persuasive ways, rather than making them angry or upset or criticizing them. And sometimes without saying anything, you do it yourself, and then other people also follow you suit. This reminds me a Tibetan saying which says, all activities are imitations, and whoever does the best imitation is called a scholar. Right? So all our actions are imitations. If you do a wonderful thing, many people will follow that. In my own way, I started doing small things, not necessarily the environment, but I've started small things which is beneficial to other people in the campus where my institute is. Many people followed it, copied it. Oh, this is nice, we should do this also. They copy it, you see. So we need to start in our own small capacity doing something and share it with your friends, and they'll support you. That's the way. Creating a ripple effect. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Venerable Sir, for your presentation. You mentioned about political leaders. I'd like to ask you about religious leaders, because also in history and today,
Exactly.
the conflicts between religions,
Exactly.
within religions, between religious leaders is
Very true.
just as vicious and even more.
Exactly.
Would you like to
Exactly.
comment on it?
Because I spoke about political leaders, but they are the ones who directly and actually hold all the powers. But that doesn't mean religious leaders are not responsible. I mean, actually, even today, in some places, the religious leaders and political leaders are also in league. They are also holding the power together. And that made Karl Marx make this very famous remark, religion is opium. Karl Marx said this in Prussia, where he saw that the religious leaders and political leaders are working together, enjoying nice life, have the power, and then telling the poor people, oh, you work very hard, you sweat, you work very hard, next life you will be born in heaven. Whereas they themselves are not working, they're enjoying. So Karl Marx said, religion is opium. You see? And worse than that, today, in the name of God, people are killing each other. In the name of religion, people are killing each other. So that makes us almost feel like saying that, and in fact, many people start thinking religion is not necessary. But the problem is not necessarily with the religion, but with the people who profess, who claim that they are religious practitioners, but they are not. They're only, in politics we say dirty politics. Politics itself not necessarily dirty, but it's the politicians who make politics dirty. Similarly, religion may not be dirty, but it's the so-called religious practitioners who make their own religion dirty. Right? So that's why now more and more people, because of this wrongdoing of few people, more and more people are now talking about spirituality. They prefer talking about spirituality than religion. I once attended a big international conference in Mexico, where there was a writer who wrote a book comparing the harms and benefits of religion and spirituality. He found spirituality much more beneficial than religion. You see? So, it's people. When religion gets in the wrong hand of people, it becomes dirty. Science also, technology also very useful if you use it right away. It gets in the wrong hand of a leader, then it's misused, you see. So again, at the end of the day, it's human beings who has to change, right? And the way to change is education. Yeah.
Hi. I would like to, you refer a little bit a comment you said before that we should choose our own leaders when we don't have, and when we are living in a time that there's no especially political leaders that can represent the people, the changes, when
Yeah.
all the political leaders are more business orientated and there's not much choice for people, what we can do.
So that's why, like, for any major solution, there is no quick fix solution. There is no instant solution. It's not like instant coffee, you know, there's no instant solution. It takes time, but we must make the effort. Because right now you're right, because majority of them are not healthy, because this is what the society produced. They did not drop from the sky. They came from the society, from the community. In the community, as I said, the education system is such that your whole focus is to get money, and when you see that money is possible through power, then they become political leaders. This may be true here, but in other countries, many other countries, I know people clearly say that most of the political leaders actually not very educated also. Many of them are rocks. A little bit like almost like bad people, you see. And good people, most of them don't come in politics. I don't know how far this is true here, but generally it is like that, you see. So therefore, in the society, we need to come up with this. That's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama is now working very hard to introduce universal ethics in the schools, in the colleges. And we launched this major, we did an international launching of this program in New Delhi, April this year, where we teach now, whether you prefer call it secular ethics, yes, secular ethics, or we can use the term social, emotional, ethical learning. Because we need to introduce values which has nothing to do with religion. Universal values. I'm not saying that you can't take the universal values taught from religion, you can take that also, so long as it is universal. Right? So we need that universal value. Universal values are those values not coming from top down, from the God or from Buddha. We are not talking about that. We are talking about universal values which is coming from bottom up. For you, it's better I smile. For me, it's better you smile. Right? So that kind of day-to-day lives, ordinary human lives, experience. So it should be a universal value which has scientific evidence, based on human common experience, common sense, evidence-based. This is good for you, good for me, good for everybody. Let us do that. Right? So it's already now many schools all over the world are taking that curriculum. Already a book around 370 pages, which is called Framework of Social, Emotional, Ethical Learning, is already there. Plus the curriculum for the elementary school, middle school, they're all there. And it has already been translated into, I think, over 20 languages. So you can also extend your support for these programs wherever it is possible. Right? So before we become God or Buddha, we should be good human beings. So for that we need these universal values. So that, I think, is the way for long-term solution. But for short-term solution also, among the not so healthy leaders also, there may be some who are relatively much better, so try to select them. Right? Because so that it will be not a long waiting before a good person comes. You know, among the many leaders, there are some who are relatively much better. Try to elect them. I think that's the way. Yeah.
Trustee Geshe, thank you very much for this evening. I work with younger children. I teach in a primary school, and your statement, our mind is starving or suffering from starvation, I found that very, very poignant and very strong. So I would like your advice on how we can share that, or myself, share it with the children I work with and the youth I come across, because in our society, I think we are almost meeting a crisis point.
Exactly. So there, as I said, with this teaching these universal values, I think is key. So we already have some frameworks also. Otherwise also, I'm sure in many schools they have this kind of program. So just find out those programs, and not just these programs, based on your own personal understanding. You know, the most important thing is showing genuine care and concern and love to the kids. That is the source of their flourishment, their growth, right? Then whatever you teach, they easily can learn, right? So that is, I think, very, very important. Then also show the value that you know, most of us, even in terms of getting money, even in terms of getting good health, everybody wants money, everybody wants to get good health. Even if that is your goal, you need these human values. If you are compassionate, your health will be good. If you are compassionate, you will have many friends. If you are nice and cool, people say, oh, you're a guy, you know, nice, cool-looking guy, please come work in our company, you know. There are many, many examples like that, you see. So for your own well-being, forget about talking so many things, at least in the beginning. For your own well-being, you need this. And then you can show examples. Now there are so many examples. For example, in some of the Harvard business publications, let me tell you this a little bit. A team of researchers did a research on 3-4 young people who were equally good in their study in Harvard University. So right from this time when they were in university, they followed this group, and they kept on following them even after they left the university and they got their employment, what they're doing, they got married and got different jobs, things like that. They followed them. Then they found that the person who really followed these human values, lived harmoniously with their family members, wife, and so forth, and also not greedy to jump on to become CEO immediately by, you know, being opportunistic and taking advantage, but to really be like nice. They gradually become CEO of the company, and also very healthy relationship with their family. Some of the others who try to take shortcuts, quick money, many of them got divorced. Some of them even landed in jail for a few days. There's the finding. So get some of these findings. Now we have so much material. We just have to look through these materials and show these examples. Yeah. Okay.
Long travel microphone. Geshe Lhakdor, this past week in London has been the world capital of civil disobedience action, and inspired thousands of others around the world, and hundreds of people have ended up in jail, fueled by their sense of universal responsibility. I wonder if you have words of advice for the thousands of people that are on the street this coming week, here and around the world, taking action, and what words of advice you have for them to give them courage and keep them going.
I don't really know whether I have the capacity to give wisdom or suggestion, but based on my similar experience of working with people, I came up with this statement, which I call it, be compassionate and firm. There's something that I would like to share. When it comes to getting something done, one thing that's really important is don't get angry and upset. Right? But that doesn't mean you should not take action. You should take action, be firm in your stand, relentless, but not using nasty words or getting angry or trying to destroy something. That will make others also get angry, and you will not find the solution, you see. So you should really relentless in terms of your pursuit, but be compassionate, and that will not destroy your own energy, you see. Because when you want to achieve something quickly and get angry, like for example, think about anger. That's what constantly said in Buddhism. Why do we get angry? Because we get angry, number one, scientifically there are a lot of things to say about that, but normally we want to get things done quickly. Or we get angry because we have nothing good to say. Now in this case, you have many good things to say. You don't have to get angry because you are on the right track. You are doing the right thing. You can explain it. You can talk about the reasons. You don't have to get angry. Normally people get angry when their reason runs out. You see? Right? And when you get angry, you create a distance already. And the Buddha in his lifetime, he said, when two people fight, very angry, standing close towards each other, they're so close, but still they're shouting at the top of their voice. Why? Right? Because physically you are standing close towards each other, but mentally you created that gap. Right? So therefore, if you get angry, you will create more gap. Right? So that does not mean to say that you don't take the action. Take the action, but be firm, be compassionate, be relentless. And then gradually the other person will also have an opportunity to gradually come around and listen. And probably you also don't have to go into jail. You see? Right? Yeah.
Geshe-la, you said probably they wouldn't have to go into jail, but unfortunately it has come to that. There's been 1,300 arrests in London.
You put it off or something? On.
Is that okay? Okay, so the science, 1,700 scientists that put together the IPCC report last November, the outlook is not good.
Exactly.
So there aren't really any nice words to say about our future. It's a crisis situation.
Exactly.
That's why there's been 1,300 arrests already in London just in 1 week.
Yeah.
And of course, you're completely right. It has to remain non-violent.
Yeah.
That's crucial.
Yeah.
That's the crucial tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know which word to use, but I'm curious. Have you read the IPCC report? Do you realise how bad the situation is that the scientists are telling us?
Exactly.
I want to use the word hope. I don't know which other word to use. I don't really have any hope, and I'm not quite sure what to put in its place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're screwed, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no other choice but to maintain hope. It's important to maintain hope, right? And then we have to have this understanding, realization that nothing can be solved in one day, right? That does not mean to say we cannot at least slow down the process of destruction or wrongdoing, you see. And as I said right in the beginning, that since we brought about all these problems, we should find the solution. and we'll be able to find the solution. It may be a little bit late, but never too late for doing good things, right? So therefore, I think we need to keep on voicing our concern, especially, as you rightly mentioned, the scientists who, in many cases, because of the lure of the money, the government makes them do all those awful things. So they are also, if you appeal to their conscience, probably some of them may change also, not to support the wrong inventions or things like that. Yeah. Okay. Lasso to Geshe. Thank you very much. This must be having a lot of money here. Oh! But I want you to keep, please. Please keep it.
Thank you. It's very meaningful for you to come on a day like today and to share these words, because I think here in London we're all feeling raw and vulnerable, or at least I should say many of us. And so to hear your words of connectedness and open-heartedness, it's very inspiring and soothing, and we're very grateful that you took the time to come here today and to boost our morale. Thank you very much.
So let us do a short prayer together. You can repeat after me. May those with fear be fearless. May those under bondage be freed. May those powerless be empowered. May our hearts join in friendship. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I want to thank also the Office of Tibet for helping make things today possible, and Tenzin Kunga very kindly is just going to share a few words with us. Tenzin.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm here representing the Tibet House Trust, which is a UK registered charity attached to the Office of Tibet London. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to briefly explain to you about how we have the distinguished Tibetan Buddhist expert Geshe Lhakdor here in the UK. The trustees of Tibet House Trust, which is this year celebrating the 25th founding anniversary, decided, consistent with the aims and objectives of the Tibet House Trust, the charity, to provide an opportunity for the Tibet House members, for our friends and the wider general public, an opportunity to listen to and to engage with distinguished experts, especially Tibetan experts in the field of Buddhist philosophy, language and culture. And this year we are starting off this Tibet House Trust annual talk series, and we could not think of any other person to start this auspicious project, none other than Geshe Lhakdor, and we placed this proposal in front of him for his consideration, and he very kindly agreed to come to the UK as per our proposal, and to spend his time giving talks. And we have organized talks for him, a couple of talks in London, in Oxford, also in Cambridge, and one in Milton Keynes. And this is our first experience, bringing in an expert and having these kind of talks. So we hope this will be it's successful, and so that we can continue this year after year and make it an annual program. And today we are very thankful to Jamyang Buddhist Centre, who has always been very kind to share their premises for the larger Tibetan community here. We used to have these prayers and all these gatherings over here. So similarly today we have this opportunity to reach out to the members of the Jamyang community through this talk, which has been made possible with our association with Jamyang, the new director Ferry, and the Jackie, and all the trustees. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Get up.